And we're live. There we go. All right, we are live right now. Live HCC and Cujo and King Kong in the background.
It's true. All of it. It's all true.
We were talking before we started about classic horror movies. And I loved the 1930s King Kong. Actually, I liked a lot of the horror movies, like the Universal monster movies from the 30s and I guess the 40s too. I did enjoy those. Oh, by the way, Comics and Bueller, hello.
Good to see you.
I may be getting some lag. On my screen, I show a little bit of lag. So, hello, Peter Ang and Matt Rubin. Hey, you guys, let me know if we're lagging on your side. My Wi-Fi is doing double duty right now. Hi, Chad. Hello, Green Yeti. Hey, SEO Toy Review.
The Green Machine.
That's right. We got Kevin in the house. It's a Cobra Convergence reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sparkster. Hi, Leah and April. Brandon Knight, nice to see you. Chris Mc83. All right, guys. So as you can see, we got a guest. We got Cujo here. Because my internet is going to be doing double duty. You may get a little bit of lag, but it shouldn't be too bad, I don't think. Hello, Mark Hoke, and whoever else snuck in here. Dustin Cordish, how do you do? Hello from the United States. That's right. Hi, Cobra Viper. And the Major Pain. Yeah, so, check it out. See, it isn't just me here all the time. Oh, and my doorbell just rang. Susan ordered pizza, and so now we get to listen to the dog bark at the pizza guy for a minute. Good timing. Good timing. Hi, Yorktown Joe.
Yorktown in the house.
Action figure expert and Oscar. And his Comics Comics with Bueller's first time watching the live stream. Well, first time, and it's a special one. That's awesome. So, guys, we're gonna start here in just a minute talking about the Desert Scorpion. That's the review that just went up. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. So I'll get your thoughts on that. Just a little bit of housekeeping for the channel. I at work has been very busy lately, so that a lot of my time and energy and attention has been going to that. I have not been able to keep up with private messages and things like that as well as I usually do, and honestly, usually I haven't been able to keep up with it as well as I should. So now I'm doing even worse than that at keeping up with messages, but I'm going to do my best to get back to everyone. But just to let everybody know, just at the moment, work is pretty hectic, so please bear with me. But at any rate, we just did the Desert Scorpion. This is one I'd been wanting to get to for a while. It's a 90s figure, but my goodness, there's so much to it. That single figure has so many elements to it. It's impressive that was released just as a single carded figure. It's almost like a deluxe figure. You look at all the paint that's on it, and like the cloth and I know that the giant scorpion is a little weird, but it's still like an extra bonus thing that came with it. And you can prank your wife with the scorpion, and it's pretty cool. You might get shot though.
True. You recovered nicely, by the way.
Marvel and DC, no problem at all. So yeah, we opened with a little sketch with Susan, and when I got the idea, I thought it was kind of funny. At least it was funny in my head. But you know, when I start shooting these things and I'm trying to explain to Susan, all right, how it's gonna go, it's hard to always explain it, completely. So that's one where, I mean, she couldn't really conceptualize what it was gonna be like until it was actually edited together. And then when she actually saw the final edit and she saw me get shot, all right, now it's funny. Now she sees why it's funny.
She wasn't traumatized?
No. Anyway, so, Susan is a deadly shot, especially when she's shooting at me. Cujo, Desert Scorpion. That is a figure that it has a fan following. I'd say it has a groundswell. Did you have any thoughts about the Desert Scorpion? Did you have any memories of the Desert Scorpion from back in the day?
Well, first of all, let me say that it's a pleasure to be on a channel such as HCC788. It's a pleasure chatting with you again, man.
Thank you.
I would say, let me ask you a couple questions about the Desert Scorpion.
Shoot.
He almost has and I apologize for the aircraft. He almost has too many accessories. If there's one thing you would say take away, what would it be?
That's a good question. The digger device. If I could only take away one thing, the attachable digger devices, to me, just feel like extra pieces. Hello, what's on Joe Mine? Thank you for joining us. And he says Desert Scorpion was the late Gary Head's favorite G.I. Joe figure. I did not know that. That's very interesting. Well, that's a good one to be your favorite. But yeah, to your question, the digger devices. When I was working with it and trying to do the review, mostly they just kind of got in the way or they fell off. So if I could do away with an accessory or two, technically, I think that's what it would be. Not necessarily the Scorpion. I mean, I know the Scorpion is kind of weird, especially since it's kind of oversized for the scale of the figure. But the Scorpion still looks kind of cool. I mean, it's a really nice sculpt of a Scorpion. You talked about accessories. Well, first of all, do you think that it has too many accessories? I mean, some people might think that all of these accessories are appropriate. What do you think about it?
Well, the tube that comes out the side of his head doesn't make much sense to me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And the yellow works for his chest, but not for his crotch. The yellow singlet doesn't play.
Yeah.
He probably needs a darker crotch. Well, what about the modern era figure? The Scorpion is mechanical. Which one inspires? What would you want to play with? A mutant Scorpion or a mechanical one?
I think a mechanical one would be cool, especially now. You can update me because I'm not as familiar with the modern figure. But is the mechanical Scorpion articulated?
Where's Full Force when you need him?
Yeah. Hold on.
I don't know. I think so.
This is what the Google is for. Hold on. I'll do research. You stall for a second while I do some research. Let me do some show prep in the middle of the show. Hold on. Let's see.
I think the Desert Scorpion works as a single character as well as like his file card says, a brigade, I guess.
I do think the figure just looks awesome, and I think the file card is just kind of incongruous with the look of the figure. That's just my impression. I absolutely agree with you about the yellow on the waist piece. I think some folks have chimed in and said they think it's all one piece, the chest and the waist that's supposed to be all one piece. I don't think it necessarily helps it because that still would be
you're going to get a wedgie crawling around in the sand. I mean, let's be honest.
But the modern figure has black waist piece, so that's better. And let's see, where's that Scorpion? Let's see, where is it? It's hard to tell from the pictures on Yojo if it is articulated. I bet somebody in the chat has already told us the answer, but I haven't been looking. Let's see, it's cool looking.
Yes.
It is.
It is articulated.
Yeah, what I was going to say is if it's articulated, the mechanical would be awesome. First of all, it would make more sense, right? Because, I mean, instead of mutating a Scorpion to giant size, you just have a robot, a Scorpion-shaped robot. with weapons and stuff like that, and that's cool. And hey, not entirely unrealistic, because battlefield robots do exist, and you could make one look like a Scorpion.
Maybe he could be a Lightfoot nemesis, like him and the robot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. You mentioned the Full Force. Chris did a Night Force Lightfoot cosplay diagnosticated. You remember that from Joe Fest?
Oh yeah,
that was awesome with the little robot. So now somebody needs to do the Desert Scorpion, and we need a nemesis. We need a nemesis for Night Force Lightfoot.
That's almost too much cosplay. If somebody pulls that off, it'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I know I couldn't do it. I'll leave that to the professionals.
Me too. I think somebody's that was their favorite G.I. Joe, like late G.I. Joe. What happened there?
Yeah, I missed it. Who's Desert Scorpion was? Who? Once on Joe Mine was talking about the late Gary Head. Important, prominent member of the G.I. Joe community. He's responsible, working with Joe Declassified, for digging up a lot of this archival information and a lot of information from former Hasbro employees that has shed a lot of light on the production. That the things that we now know, Gary Head had a lot to do with finding that information, and he passed away a few years ago. I never had a chance to meet him. I was just kind of getting into the fan community, the G.I. Joe community at the time, and of course, his name kept popping up, and I thought, there's a guy I need to talk to. And then, unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age before I ever had a chance to. Gary Head, he had an actually an actual Hasbro released action figure in the 50th anniversary line released that was a tribute to him. But I didn't know that that Desert Scorpion was his favorite figure. That is an interesting little bit of personal information that I had no knowledge of.
Trivia. Well, I saw that you piped up about Form BX 257. I think the respect that you have for him on the journalism side, I've always been a fan of Fred Mayer, Joe Battlelines. Like people that have been doing it for so long.
Yeah. I mean, these are the old school people. This is why I wanted to give What's on Joe Mind a huge shout out, because they have dedicated a lot of their personal time and energy to the community and to the hobby, and I just think they deserve to be acknowledged for that. And for us here in YouTube land, for a lot of us, Form BX 257 was our gateway drug. He was the one who kind of got us into it. That's certainly true of me. And for a long time, and he was, I don't know necessarily the only one, but the only or the most prominent Joe reviewer on YouTube. And I just thought that he deserved that kind of acknowledgement for 10 years. 10 years. That's huge. And just as a person, I just really like Kevin. Kevin is just such a nice guy and so good to work with. And he was doing it first, and then all of us, interlopers here, all of us young folk came in and kind of picked up that banner and kind of ran with it. But he embraced us. He's been involved with Cobra Convergence every single year. He's embraced the rest of the YouTube G.I. Joe community, and I still think that I still love what he does. I still never miss one of his videos.
Sorry, just fiddling with things. Don't mind me.
So I'm curious for a little bit of biographical information on Cujo. How long would you say you've been actively involved in G.I. Joe as a hobby?
Honestly, I was there at the beginning. The first carded figures were I got them on Christmas. I think I went to the Joe cons, a few Joe cons along the way. I haven't been an avid collector, but I've said this so many different ways and subtly, but you just kind of you see how fandoms are and stuff like that, and you just start realizing that you enjoy the people that enjoy G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
they kind of all make sense in a way.
Well, that's cool. So you was that back in 1982? That first series, is that what you got?
I think I got Swivel Arm, so it was shortly after the beginning. Being able to stick with it like that is admirable. When I walked away from it as and I guess an early teen, I stayed away from it until shortly before I started this channel, and I thought about it, and I thought many times, hey, I should look at eBay and see if anybody has those old GI Joes, and I had found yojo.com, and I had kind of gone through the pages and looked at the old Jojo's amazing.
Yeah, and that just brought back a lot of memories. But then I just walk away from it, and that's just all there was to it. And if I had just taken that step toward, just looking for other Joe fans, taking the step of actually trying to collect, I could have been involved in the community a lot sooner, and I could have made a lot of friends a lot earlier. So I feel like I missed out on a lot by maybe I was just too adult. I was too grown up, too serious minded to get involved in something like collecting toys. But now I just think, wow, that was a really dumb way of thinking, and I wasted a lot of time, and I could have been making a lot of friends along the way, and I missed out on that. So
if you missed out, you're an early adopter in a lot of ways. 10K on YouTube, dude.
Getting close, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're behind the curve. I think people are still waking up to what it is to be in 2019 and not have to put yourself out there, but it sure helps you in a lot of facets if you're comfortable kind of conveying ideas in front of a screen, I guess.
Let me toss an idea at you that I had, I think, at Joe Fest, I kind of had this thought, is that the closest
Joe Fest wish list? Let's do it.
The closest I came to jumping into G.I. Joe before I actually did was about the time Rise of Cobra came out. And it got me interested. I mean, I was thinking about it again. I went to see the movie, and it was one of those situations where I saw the movie, and I was so caught up in nostalgia that I couldn't tell if it was good or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched it again, and I was like, But my thought was, if Rise of Cobra had been a better movie, I might have jumped into collecting at that time. But because my impression of it at the time wasn't so positive, I didn't. It was a nice thing. I enjoyed a little bit of nostalgia, but I just kind of moved on. But the thing I want to pose to you is this: there's a Snake Eyes movie coming up next year.
Mm-hmm.
If it's even a halfway decent movie, I mean, let's not be mentally irregular here. Let's not say it's not going to be Oscar material, but if it's a halfway decent movie, do you think we're going to see a resurgence? Do you think we're going to see a lot of people taking a second look at it and thinking about things that they used to like and maybe taking the plunge and getting involved?
Dude, layers, right? I think that I mean, the question is G.I. Joe relevant? The new series by Paul Aller, we chatted him up. He's definitely framing the characters differently, putting them in kind of different fashions, which aren't, what a lot of people are looking for, but kind of drawing in a different audience. I don't know if it serves a franchise to continue to reframe the genre. I think that G.I. Joe was probably built on the details. If they change that, is it still G.I. Joe? You could ask the same question if they change the heart of Star Wars. Is it still Star Wars? It doesn't mean it can't be enjoyed, but what's your thoughts? I mean,
it's a really good question. I'm sorry, I'm not giving myself credit for a really good question. I mean, you pose a good question. I don't know about the Paul Eller series because I haven't read it yet. I still intend to read it, but I just have not had the time. And I always withhold judgment on anything until I can see it myself. But I've said before, if G.I. Joe is to be relevant and going forward, not just for 40-plus-year-old guys like myself, but for a younger generation, then that generation would have to have its own G.I. Joe, kind of like we did. I mean, when they relaunched G.I. Joe, they did not relaunch Action Soldier and Action Sailor, 12-inch figures. They gave us our own G.I. Joe, and it helped that there were brilliant people behind it. And that's something that you can never guarantee, right? You can have the best of intentions, and you can have the best marketing and the highest quality materials, but you may not necessarily have the right people in place. And having somebody like Larry Hama kind of almost by chance step into that and make something out of it, and from that, the different iterations that influenced the animated series. It influenced, the file cards. You can't guarantee that you have that for the next iteration. But I don't know. I honestly don't know that there will ever be a next generation of G.I. Joe fan. I think there could be, and I'd like for there to be. And even if there...
You mentioned classic horror movies up front. Like, do you think that there was an era in entertainment that was almost more engaging for the viewer, and actually, let's not go down that rabbit hole. No, I think that it's tough for me. I think to transition to the Desert Scorpion to the Black Book. I think that as a creative, it is hard to kind of, and I've asked this question to creatives along the way. How do you write? How do you promote your stuff without kind of turning yourself into the product? I think that's why, when you're talking the Black Book, and I apologize for this hologram, this light hologram.
It's cool.
The sun is setting on the West Coast.
It's your Zartan. This shoulder is phasing into something. I don't know.
Don't tell the Joes. Joes, don't look at me. It's I think the Black Book, did I write it? Was it a story that I heard? I mean, it could be true. It's maybe I had to repackage a few things, but the story's straight.
You're getting into deep stuff like the nature and the act of creativity. I mean, that's there are large volumes of philosophy written on that, and so I don't know how deep we can get in that this evening.
Yeah, no. This is an evening wasted, lest we forget.
Yeah, good point.
Have we even announced the title? Amazing.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we might get a little esoteric here.
Well, let me ask you this: you're a content creator, but you're not a product. You're a person. You're a family man. You have a complicated job. So I mean, there's a balance, and in whatever genre you're in, you kind of figure out how much you want to put yourself out there, I guess.
Yeah, that's a man, that's a sticky subject. If you're on YouTube and you're producing a show where you're in front of the camera, you almost can't, whether you want to or not, or whether you try to or not, you almost can't help but be the product or part of the product because part of the reason some folks will watch what you do is how well they connect with you. So
I think that's it's going to be all of it down the stretch. I think people will support what they understand.
But I try to counter that by just trying to be as genuine, like real me as possible. And I sometimes I do a little bit of acting, like that opening scene that we talked about on the Desert Scorpion video, and that it's fun. It's fun.
You did get shot? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that stuff is fun. But even if I'm like cracking jokes or flailing my arms or ranting about something, it's all me. I mean, I try not to give you a false product. What I tell you is what I really think about things. And if I'm cracking a joke, that's my real sense of humor. You hang around me in person, that's the kind of stuff that you'll hear. But I'm not sure exactly how we got down that road. But yeah, that becoming the product. That's what you said. It's I understand that some people will not like. Actually, it can be as much of a drawback as it is an asset because a lot of people are not going to like what I do. A lot of people are not going to like my style. They're not going to like my face. They're not going to like my humor. And because of that, they're not going to even bother to watch the reviews. And I understand that. That's the thing that I've had to accept kind of early on, is that I can't please everyone.
I might be visually offensive. What are you going to do? Yeah. No, I know. I think yeah, that's where we're all at. It's if people can read, and if you're not genuine, then it comes out, I guess. And I definitely think that you're also right that you can't build a network on negative vibes. You and I have seen that in real time.
Yeah, I have, and that's just not how I want to be. I've said some, I've had some rants and I've said some negative things, but that's not. That in itself is not what my channel is about because I can't. That's not my personality. And if I wanted to create like one of these histrionic angry review channels and just do that all the time, I could not sustain that because that's not my personality.
How are we? We're down another rabbit hole. Shall we approach the Black Book?
I was just getting to that because we were just talking about being genuine in what you create, and this, to me, is like Cujo distilled into paper form, and I've read it a few times since I've got it. And by the way, if for those of you who have the Black Book or want to try to pick up a copy. It is something that you have to read more than once. I would dare say that it's impossible to get everything out of it on the first pass. Because when you start looking at the graphics, you start digging out things that, okay, hold on a second here. There's more to this than what I saw here. There's actually a part of the story is in the graphics itself. But to me, that's Cujo. It just reminded me of just hanging out with Cujo, at least in that respect.
Well, you're in the Black Book, so I have a hunch that Black Book will be around for a bit. So we're good. I was going to ask. Actually, I'm not sure what I was going to ask. Please continue.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Oh, and I gotta. I will continue. The Black Book. It's black. In fact, some of the pages in it are white. But I won't. I don't want to spoil anything by showing off too much of the artwork. But the artwork style. See, obviously, I my formative years were in the '80s, but when I was started to be really interested in art, especially comic book art, that was more in the early 90s. And not all of the early 90s was a positive thing for comic books as an art form, but one thing that was really good about the early 90s is there was a lot of experimentation, and there was a lot of new ideas out there. Things that really probably wouldn't have even got a second look in the 80s or the 70s. And for me, this feels like that kind of that I don't want to say experimental, because I don't necessarily think that the style here is experimental. It's really sharply done. I mean, it's you're not guessing at what you're doing here. I don't want to give that impression, but it's outside the box. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. And that just puts me in the mind of those heady days in the early 90s when the comic book art form actually tried to break out of some of its very old and tired tropes. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Thanks, brother. Do you have 2 questions?
Do I have 2 questions about the Black Book?
Yeah, specific, small, big, anything.
Okay, yeah, I probably will. Hold on one second.
Well, I'll dig through. I would say this. My approach on page, if you're thinking about the Black Book, we will do another printing. It's built for 3 printings. The next printing will be the definitive one.
Okay.
It'll have 4 more pages that won't be necessarily narrative, but they will kind of branch out a little bit. The style I wanted to do was, I get exhausted when people put a lot of ink on the page. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean I don't like it, but it does. It's kind of the Black Book it's one layer, but those layers are complicated. And I think I'll ask the final question about the Black Book, and I'll just leave it at that. But sure. What do you got first?
Okay. The first question that came to mind isn't necessarily about the story itself, but you have some artwork here from John Royal and Daniel Sanchez, Scott Kruger, Dave Cabal. First of all, it's fantastic. And one of my great drawbacks is I usually don't have the balls to ask people to do stuff like that. Did you just ask them and they just did this awesome stuff for you?
Well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to put a spotlight on Royal. He's going to be where we're going to be at Joe Fest. Cool. Again, guys, I know that people are tugging at your wallet right now, but if you want to see what G.I. Joe is, then turn up and meet us and meet Royal. Royal reached out, or I reached out to him and just saw if he wanted to team up. I told him I was doing a comic, and then we could try and parlay that into something larger. And he was generous. Amazing dude. Doesn't know me, but he is G.I. Joe. His covers have honestly carried that series for a while. As far as intrigue goes.
And I have to say this about you just in general. People say I go to Joe Fest, I should get interviews. I don't feel like I'm a good interviewer, and I don't usually even ask. But one of the great things that I think the community has gotten from you is you do those interviews. And I've heard those interviews on Joburg. And I've got to say how much I appreciate you doing that.
Cheers, brother.
So that I think is a tremendous asset.
Well, that's another thing about the Black Book is I wanted to make it basic enough that you could go, oh, I can do this. If I have 5 people together, maybe I can crowdfund something special. Which a lot of people are catching the crowdfunding bug, as they should be. Support local network. But yeah, that's one question. Did I answer it?
Yes. Okay. And let's see. Just speaking of Joe Fest, Brandon Knight says he will be there. That's awesome. Thank you, Brandon. I have something to announce, but I want to talk about Joe Fest a little bit more. Am I hearing correctly? Are you thinking of going out to Joe Fest?
It's my intention to get there. I'm gonna say I'm gonna get there just because. Why not? Manifest destiny, I guess.
It does seem to it's growing into like the new JoeCon, and I love seeing everybody. I recently did the review of Joe Colton, and the cosplayer Joe Colton was talking about how JoeCon was like a family reunion every year. And Joe Fest has been kind of a continuance of that, and that's the way I look at it, and I love to see as many people there as possible. But I will say that at Joe Fest, the first few years that I went, it was a struggle to meet people because I didn't know anybody. I was new, and I would try to talk with people, but it took me a while to like sort of break into that, because everybody there had known each other for years. Everybody had been going for years, and nobody knew me. But I would encourage everyone, if you are thinking of going to Joe Fest next year, and if you're going and you think you're not going to know anybody, I will have a table there. Come and see me, okay? Come and talk to me. We will talk. We will hang out, right?
I think, to that point, I think we'll have a better social media setup. We'll probably have like a place to live stream, and it'll be probably more of a kinetic flow. We just didn't, we hadn't all assembled at once, and really, the cat putting on Joe Fest, his name is slipping me right now.
Oh, Ed Schumacher.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's definitely he lets the social media people breathe, and honestly, I think people turn up to conventions as much to see the people online as they would listen to the old school creators talk. I think there's a balance there.
Ed, I mean, I don't know how long it will be in Augusta. I understand why it's in Augusta, and Augusta is fine. But it doesn't have a lot of some things that JoeCon had. It's not an official convention, so they don't have the official exclusives. So that may turn some people off. But for me, JoeCon was never about that stuff anyway. For me, it was always about going and seeing people. And so, if you go in, I encourage you to come see me after the show. After hours, we'll hang out. We'll talk G.I. Joe.
Let me
I want to nail down Cujo because I didn't get to spend nearly enough time with you last year.
Dude, that was a whirlwind. No, yeah. Question 2.
Question 2. I have to ask question 2. Question 2 is... Oh, I had a question. Hold on. Wait, I had thought of it. It was about these Steel Brigade looking uniforms, which are just wicked. And you even have like these customs by Jim Godfrey here, which are awesome. This turns me around to a question that I have about G.I. Joe and how people view Steel Brigade in G.I. Joe. In universe, what is Steel Brigade to you? What is it?
Well, I was looking at the G.I. Joe comic landscape, and I didn't think I could tell. I didn't want to create a new genre. I don't want to, do any world building, because the world that I enjoy, it's already out there. And like you can play fast and loose with a couple things. Steel Brigade is one of them because everybody feels the baby blue, and you can kind of do loose interpretations of the helmet. Cheers to Valaverse. I think that for me, I like stories, and this is what I can't do one conversation without doing a parting shot on somebody. I think one of the weaknesses of the IDW series is they've never branched out from the team that much, and I love talking about the grunts. I think those are the stories that are interesting to me. So I like the idea of 2 people at the bottom of the food chain. Steel Brigade.
Yeah, I see what a deeper question, and a question with more meat on it, would be about the section of the Black Book where we're kind of inside this tower.
Easy now. Mm-hmm.
Really, but the reason I'm not going there is that I don't think I'm prepared to ask the question. I don't think my mind is fully wrapped around it, so I just can't get that deep just yet.
Next year, evening wasted.
But forgiving me for going off on a slight tangent, but I do have an announcement to make. I was going to post it tomorrow, but Assembly Required in Des Moines, Iowa is coming up, I believe, on November the 9th, and I should be there. So if anybody's going to Assembly Required in Iowa on Saturday the 9th, look me up. I should be there. For those who don't know, some of you may, my oldest daughter is in Des Moines. She's at university there, and I haven't actually had a chance to go up and visit since she moved. So we are taking a family trip up to Iowa to see her. Well, Assembly Required is that same weekend, so I'm gonna go. So hey, I'm actually going to one of the regional shows, and it's my first Assembly Required. I know some folks that I know are going to be there, so it's the official announcement of Hooded Cobra Commander convention experience or appearance. If you're going to Assembly Required early next month, look around. I should be there. I'm not a guest. I don't have a table because I didn't know if I was going until like this week. But I'll just go and buy a ticket like everyone else, and I will go around and say hi to everybody. So, yeah. Yeah, go check out how she's living. Yes, Aaron. Yeah, that's the idea. I'm gonna go see if she's see how she's doing. But yeah, I haven't seen my kid for a few months now, and she's been out there, taking care of herself, being an adult. And so, yeah, I just want to go out and see her. So, dovetailing that, coincidentally, we'll also be going to Assembly Required. So, yeah, so see you there, and I'll post something about it on social media later. Yeah, those I love meeting people. I love meeting people in the community, and so obviously Joe Fest next year. I have a table booked for Joe Fest. I have the hotel booked. Everything's already, booked for that. But this is kind of a surprise. Yeah, Iowa coming up in 2 weekends from now. So there you go. Pardon me for going on a tangent, but I just wanted to mention that since I just got the vacation time to make the trip today. So yeah, I will be there.
Nice. Spontaneous.
Yeah, it's we're still got like 15 minutes to go, and we have talked a bit about the Black Book, and I wanted to make sure that we covered it. I feel like it would almost be better to just let you monologue a little bit about it, because I have thoughts about it.
I'll lead into my third question.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned the other people's artwork. Jim Godfrey did design the characters. I gave him feedback on one of them. I'm not going to say which one he blind designed, but those characters. I think it's a book about character arcs. That's where my last question will come from. But the people that did art in the back, they just sketched two people at a convention, and then I might have put an eye patch over one of them. But that's my question to you about the Black Book. Just looking at the character arcs, you have the two Blue Steel Brigade on the ground. Mm-hmm. You have the seasoned soldier that they meet up with. Mm-hmm. You have adversaries that each carry their own baggage or enlightenment. What character did you feel the most in the Black Book?
That's a good question. Let me make sure that I'm looking at the right guy. Hold on. I tend to naturally gravitate toward Steel Brigade because I feel like for G.I. Joe they are kind of the grunts. I mean, obviously G.I. Joe had Grunt, but even Grunt in G.I. Joe was kind of elite. But Steel Brigade, and this is why I kind of gravitated toward those the uniforms, and I was kind of drawn to them, and I asked about them before. To me they almost go back to what G.I. Joe is. You know, G.I. Joe from its earliest conception, even before it was a toy line, they were the grunts. That's how they earned that name. That's what Ernie Pyle called them. And so for me, let's see, and I got to remember which one I'm looking at, but the Steel Brigade immediately drew my attention. And you've got a wicked cool final battle here that I was just looking through. If I can be forgiven for not having a single answer, I'll just
sit on it. An evening wasted next year.
Yeah.
Don't forget. I like stories that you can read in different chapters and go, oh, now I get that character. Yeah. I think, when the Black Book turns up again, definitely pick it up. It's got truth in it, guys. It's got a lot of truth in it. It's got mystery. It's not meant to be understood, really. You'll understand it when you get it.
I'm going to try this if I can get the label right. They won't pay me if I don't put the label on the camera, right? Yeah, hashtag sponsor me. Purple Haze here. All right, I'm moving on to this. Except now it's warm. And Brandon Knight, I'm going to use the Rise of Cobra, beer cozy thing that you sent me. So there we go. Now Cujo, I appreciate that. First of all, you've tried to put something new out there. You've created something. But I also appreciate what you do on Joburg. And I've said this to the other Joburg guys, is that having listened to all of the episodes, I appreciate all of the voices. Like, all of the voices there are unique, and when somebody's missing, I kind of miss that person. And I know I think Rob took a little bit of time off. And all I think of is, well, I love all these other guys, but Rob got to be there. But I appreciate what you've done with Joburg as well, and also adding the element of, like, you can do some of the man on the spot interviews, which obviously they're a little too far away to do a lot of that. So these are things that I appreciate that you do.
Oh, well, thank you, and I appreciate you being like a steady force, man. That's what else can you ask for? Oklahoma, baby.
Yeah. Oklahoma. The Okies.
No, thank you. Obviously, Joburg is just this squad of talented individuals that once you see them, or see their work, you're like, good Lord.
Yeah. The videos that they've made, the storyline videos, the kind of action scenes that they've done with the figures, they keep getting better. And I've said this before, but I'm just stunned at how they can get, like, acting out of these plastic figures. But
it's crazy
with their camera angles and just the way they write them. It's just really gorgeous.
I just feel fortunate to be among so many cool creatives. Like you've said this, we all say it. We can't stop saying it because whether it's Michael Mercy, who I've not had the pleasure of chatting with yet, or oh good Lord, Mate Maller. What's the dude that's like lighting up cotton balls in the background?
Yeah, isn't that Mate? I believe that it is. Yeah.
And he just dropped a Patron. God bless. But like, yeah, no, there's so many folks that are taking different angles, and like I think if you ever do open the pages of the Black Book, you'll see it is GI Joe, but it isn't. You know, it's something that like, okay, GI Joe can't even talk about this. So it's there's a lot of room. Like you said, Hama created characters that even the smallest character somebody could identify with, and that's something powerful. And yeah, it's just a pleasure to be in this community. You know, it gets cliche, but it's true. It's true.
I'm reminded of that every time I look around and see how some other fan communities are doing, and I think, you know, at this very moment, I really appreciate being a GI Joe fan, and I hope it stays that way. I know that whenever a new movie of anything comes out, it always seems to be divisive. But I hope we can hold it together a little bit, even if not everybody likes the next iteration.
You mentioned if you catch Joe Berg and you start listening to it, you'll see that like voices do evolve, and even the composure that you have on your channel. Like, you learn stuff about the world in real time, and you're like, okay, you know, maybe, you know, I don't want to go that direction. So, I mean, there's lessons to be learned. I mean, first iteration of social media, I don't know. I don't want to talk too grandiose. It's an evening wasted.
It is, but you know what? I feel bad about talking about myself too much, but hey, it's my show. So, but I mean, in the ranty reviews that I did, I take nothing back. You know, I meant every word of it. But if you spend any time around me, you know that my personality is not that angry. And even though I might have felt that at that time, you know, over time, you know, just as time goes by and as I get more into things and I learn more about them, I tend the angry part of it tends to kind of take a back seat to what maybe a bit more.
Well, even if you're at odds with the world, we can see we have you know, platforms, we have connectivity. We can see visible people, our leaders that, you know, aren't. If you don't have composure, nothing works.
And that's what I know that it's not going to make everybody happy, because some folks really like the ranty reviews, and if I feel like ranting, I will. I'm not going to hold that back. But just the way that my brain operates, it doesn't age
well. It doesn't age well.
Yeah, and I'm not in attack mode all the time, and I have more respect for people who can find something to love out of something that others might think is unlovable, than people who will just tear things down. And I don't want to be that guy that just tears things down. And even when I'm reviewing something that, man, I really don't like, I gotta, you know, I'm not really trying if I can't find anything positive about it. Because whether I like it or not, if I'm looking at a toy, chances are that was somebody's favorite toy. And, you know, I had some
positive.
I had a few G.I. Joes when I was a kid. I had some vehicles, had some play sets. My family was not rich, so we didn't have everything, but we had quite a few things. But not everybody could even do that. You know, so for some people, the one figure might have been their entire G.I. Joe. You know, the one vehicle may have been all that they had.
I had a summer of battles. No kidding. This all ended on this. I had a summer of battles. It was the Armadillo tank and I think a couple Cobra soldiers against the Noid, a rubber bendy version of the Noid.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. No, at an antique shop a while back, I found one of those. The bendy Noid. No, I wish I could have got. If I run across one, I'm gonna get it for you and bring it to
fine.
Joe Fest. That'll be a little nostalgia for you. But that I get it. I get it. And one thing that I've tried to do more in more recent years is to remind people that, hey, we're talking about plastic. I can't hurt the plastic's feelings, right? But if you like the thing that I don't like, or if you don't like the thing that I do like, you're not wrong. And I don't think that you should change your opinion because some guy on the internet disagrees with you. And I want to, even if you, I don't require agreement. That's not what I'm looking for. I know that not everybody is going to agree with me. But I at least hope that I'm respectful. I think you can be respectful. And so if we can do that, then even if I don't like a particular figure or vehicle or whatever I'm reviewing, we can keep in mind that, hey, G.I. Joe was important to us as kids. G.I. Joe is important to us now. And we can still love it. And we can still share how much we love it. And if you want to share how much you love the thing that I didn't like so much, I'm going to have more respect for that than somebody just coming around just to tear things down. So there, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave with that. Since I've got a little bit of liquid courage, I'm just speaking my mind.
You too can be positive about Desert Scorpion's Periscope backpack.
Well, hey, it's a lot of pieces, right? It's almost like a bonus, right?
What were they thinking? Does it make any sense? I don't know.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's a desert figure, like a desert. What do you need in the desert? You need desert stuff, right? I tell you, that backpack, what would that make? That backpack would make sense on something like a Frag Viper or somebody like a frontline troop, something that not Frag Viper. I'm not. Who am I thinking of?
Maybe Televiper.
Yeah, maybe it's Televiper, because you got a
dish or something,
built-in antenna with a missile on it. That's not bad. But yeah. We are closing in at the hour, so we got about 3 minutes left. So I'll try to wrap it up a little bit. Thanks, Cujo, and I apologize for everyone. I've not kept up with the live chat very well, but I'm very grateful that all of you came and joined us this evening. So thank you for that.
I'll retroactively say hey in the comments. I appreciate Dragon Squad, early adopters. I appreciate you.
And yeah, it's even though it was kind of a rough day at work. It was pretty busy, but I always feel kind of re-energized after the live stream, just from being able to have this chat, and being able to connect with people. And I mean, you guys really keep me going when sometimes I feel like hanging it up, because it's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work every week. Let's see. Orc at War says, I got a cue. Sometimes you wear a KMFDM shirt. Do you listen? So do you listen to them? I used to. I haven't listened to them for a while. I've seen KMFDM in concert, I think at least twice. Let's see. I saw KMFDM in concert here locally, and the opening band was Rammstein. That was a long time ago. Thanks for asking. I haven't worn my band shirts in a while. Maybe I should dig those out. But yeah, that's old school. That's way back in the day. But anyway, we have about reached our hour. So I will wrap it up here, guys. Thanks again, Cujo, for spending the time. Thanks for wasting the evening with us. And we'll have to do it again. There's so much more to talk about. There's more Black Book to talk about. G.I. Joe is so vast. You could have like a whole podcast or something about it. You never know.
Yeah, a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. I really appreciate it. We will be doing it next week at the regular time. And if you happen to be at Assembly Required in Des Moines, Iowa on the 9th of November, look around because you might see me. So that's a good note to wrap up on. I'll see everybody later. And any parting words, Cujo?
G.I. Joburg at 86 Cujo. Reach out.
All right. See everyone. Good night. And I will push this button here, which will turn this thing off. Good night, everyone.